Welcome to the season 4, episode 4. The title of this is Reclaiming Peace in the Chaos. We are talking about the chapters 5 and 6 in the Let Them Theory by Mel Robbins. And I just want to say it has been absolutely amazing to go back through it. It's probably my fourth time of reading, if not more, and really devouring this book. So I'm your host, Lissa Cole, and today we are entering what may be the most transformative episode of this entire season. Like I said, we're stepping right into chapters 5 and 6 of Mel Robbins, the Let Them Theory. Yeah. And these chapters, I really think, will change the way you hold opinions, criticisms, family dynamics, and emotional pressure forever. Before we begin, take a moment and settle wherever you are. If you're at home, grab your book, your Radiant You workbook, your journal, maybe something warm to drink, especially in Michigan. Oh my gosh, the highs of 35 today. Woo! Maybe coffee, tea, whatever makes you feel grounded and present. And if you're driving or walking, just breathe. Just take a moment if you can and listen. Thanks so much for joining me. So let this episode meet you right where you are, one that invites you to slow down, reflect, and reconnect with your inner calm. All right, let's begin. So a quick re-anchor from episode 3, we really explored stress, how our body reacts automatically and how the let them theory interrupts that chain reaction. On page 75, Mel summarized 3 truths that prepare us for today's chapters. Truth number 1 is other people will stress you out. They will annoy you, disappoint you, distract you, frustrate you, and you can't control it. And when you allow their behavior to dictate your emotional state, you hand them your power. Truth number 2, your stress response is automatic. You will feel the surge, you will feel that emotional spike, but that doesn't mean that you're powerless. It means you're human. And Mel gives us one of the most truest lines in the book. You can't calm the storm, but you can calm yourself. You can't calm the storm, but you can calm yourself. That is huge. You might not be able to regulate the world, but you can learn to regulate your nervous system. Truth number 3, the solution is let them and let me. Let them creates emotional space. Let me reclaims your power. This is where the Radiant You pillars come in. Rest and review is awareness, reflection, observing the emotion without being swept away. Release and renew is releasing the need to control someone else, renewing your peace, your grounding, your truth. All right, with that foundation, let's move into chapter 5. Chapter 5 begins with a line that I absolutely love. Mel quotes Mary Oliver's famous poem, The Summer Day. It says, "Tell me, what is it you plan to do with your one wild, precious life?" I love this question. It hits right in the center of your soul, doesn't it? And Mel follows it with whatever it is you plan to do, other people are going to have an opinion about it. That's on page 77. And that is the truth. No matter how kind you are, no matter how thoughtful, no matter how intentional, someone will misunderstand you. Someone will talk. Someone will judge. Someone will form a negative opinion. It's part of being alive, part of being visible, part of being someone who does anything in this world. And here's where the Radiant You Foundation speaks loudly. When we let other people's opinions dictate our choices, we hand over the steering wheel of our life to people who aren't even riding with us. That's why this chapter is so liberating. Let them think what they think. Let them misunderstand. Let them judge. Let them talk. And then let me keep moving toward what's mine to do. Because you cannot be radiant and people-pleasing at the same time. One shines outward and the other shrinks inward. On page 79, Mel names something we all feel. We all care about what people think. We don't want to disappoint. We want to be liked. We want to be understood. But she says this clearly. People will have negative opinions about you, and there is absolutely nothing you can do to change that fact. And then she explains how fear of opinion affects our lives. It makes you procrastinate. It makes you doubt yourself. It paralyzes you with perfectionism. It fuels overthinking, and it becomes the most powerful form of self-sabotage. She writes, right now, you might be moving through life using other people's opinions as your roadmap. Think about that. Whose voice have you been following instead of your own? And then she reminds us of the fundamental truth. You cannot control what another adult thinks. Try to, and you'll regret it. That's on page 80. What if, instead of trying to manage someone else's mind, you lived your life and allowed them to think whatever they want? Let them think. Let me live. On pages 81 and 83, Mel opens up about her fear. Not fear of failure, but fear of her friends' opinions. How many times have we stayed quiet, or stayed small, or stayed stuck, not because of enemies, but because of people we love? This is where our pillars speak again. Rest and review. Notice the fear. Review why it's there. Reflect on whose voice you're listening to. Release and renew. Release the imagined opinions. Renew your trust in your own inner wisdom. On pages 85 and 86, Mel says you have zero control over someone else's thoughts. Trying to change someone's opinion wastes your life. Humans have about 70,000 thoughts a day, most random. You struggle to control your own thoughts, let alone someone else's. She writes, it is physically and neurologically impossible to control what someone else thinks. This is huge. This is freedom. Because if you can't control someone else's thoughts, you can stop trying. You can stop performing. You can stop pleasing. You can stop adjusting yourself to avoid disapproval. Let them think. Let me be who I am. On page 87, Mel gives us one of the most compassionate truths in the book. Everyone has critical opinions about people they love. And just because someone has a negative opinion doesn't mean they feel negatively about you as a whole. Two things can be true at once. They can love you deeply and still be annoyed by a behavior. This is emotional maturity. This is relational clarity. On pages 88 through 90, Mel steps into empowerment. She says, let them judge, let them react, let them doubt you, and then let me live my life in a way that makes me proud. She writes, you are so much stronger than anyone else's opinion. Your radiance cannot be dimmed by someone else's discomfort. Let me say that again. Your radiance cannot be dimmed by someone else's discomfort. And here's the line that anchors the entire chapter. When you are proud of yourself, you hold all the power. So stop giving your power to people who haven't earned it. Also on page 90, you are so much stronger than anyone else's opinion about you. Stop giving that power to other people and step into your potential. She goes on to say, let me live my life in a way that makes me proud. Mel ends chapter 5 with two truths. One, even when you bend over backward and try to please everyone and make it work, even that won't guarantee that other people will think a positive thought. Let them. Number two, don't be the person bending over backward to make everyone happy. She writes, when you operate in a way that makes you proud of yourself, it doesn't matter what other people think. Don't ever let it be you who is disappointed. Don't let guilt drive your decisions. Remember, when you go to your parents because you feel guilty, you've turned your parents into the villain. When you choose to go because you might be mad at yourself if you didn't, you're in control of that decision. This is a very straightforward example of how to stop worrying about what other people think and let your values drive your decisions. This is on page 93. Guilt is a terrible compass. Values are a reliable one. Now, as we step into chapter 6, this is a chapter about family, compassion, and emotional maturity. Mel says it's easier to use the let them theory with strangers and coworkers, but family hits different. Pages 95 through 96, family carries history. Family carries expectation. Family carries emotional weight. And that means you might be able to walk away from a coworker's reaction, but family follows you into the next room. Family pushes harder because they care harder. And sometimes they care in a way that doesn't feel caring. On page 96, Mel explains, family often shows love by pushing you, not always gently, not always skillfully, not always kindly, but often with concern. Understanding the emotional context helps us to stay grounded. On 97, she writes, understanding the larger context helps you focus on the let me part and operate with more grace and be the wise and compassionate adult. The more grace and kindness you display, the more space you create for a change in the dynamic to happen. Grace does not mean tolerating dysfunction. Let me say that loud and clear. Grace does not mean tolerating dysfunction. Grace means grounding yourself in emotional maturity. Let me hold my values. Let me respond as the adult I want to be. Let me choose peace. Let me choose calm. And here's where I want to add this truth. Peace doesn't come from quiet circumstances. It comes from a quiet spirit. And a part of emotional wisdom is learning to observe without absorbing everyone else's chaos. Setting important boundaries. Remember, you can't calm the storm, but you can calm yourself with boundaries. On pages 98 through 102, we're entering into what I think is the heart of chapter 6, the frame of reference. A concept Mel learned from Lissa Cole. Frame of reference simply means the lens through which someone sees life. Their upbringing, trauma, fears, insecurities, hopes, wounds, beliefs, patterns, experiences. Mel's story about her mother is incredibly powerful. For years, she thought her mother was judging her relationship with her husband, Chris, only to discover years later it wasn't judgment. This is on page 101. It wasn't judgment. It was grief. Her mother feared losing her. Her mother was mourning change. Two truths existed. Her mother wasn't wrong, and Mel wasn't wrong. She writes, "We were both right because we had different frames of reference." That understanding dissolved the power struggle. Mel says, seeing it through her lens helped me put our relationship back in balance. On 102, Mel acknowledges that it takes an extraordinarily mature person to be able to detach from your emotions and want to step into someone else's shoes. It's hard to understand that someone can love you and have opinions that are deeply hurtful and at times bigoted. When this happens in life, how you choose to respond is a deeply personal choice. Mel says she can't tell you what you should do if someone in your family is judging you. What she can do is give you the tools to determine how you want to respond in the situation. Mel goes on to say, do you want this person in your life? If you do, the let them theory will create the space for it. Now, remember, not everyone can do that. Not everyone is emotionally mature enough to make that choice. Not everyone will do that. And that's when you return to let them. Let me. Let me decide what kind of relationship is possible. Mel continues on page 103. So as hard as it may sound, let them have their opinions and focus on how you are going to respond. She says, what she loves about this idea is stepping into someone else's frame of reference is that understanding where someone is coming from may not change their opinion or yours, but it will deepen the connection that you have while you navigate your relationship. She continues with, it helps you create space for two things to be true at once. And that space is where love can exist. She also shares one of the reasons why she loves the let them theory is that anytime you improve yourself, it improves all your relationships. And this is particularly true with family. The frame of reference helps. Remember, understanding does not mean agreeing. Understanding does not mean surrendering. Understanding means clarity, and clarity creates freedom. On 104, Mel says something that hit me so deeply. You have limited time with your loved ones. Your parents are living life for the first time too. My radiant friends, please hear this. You've never lived this life before. Your family has never lived this life before. Everybody is learning as they go. She writes, people can only meet you as deeply as they've met themselves. People can only meet you as deeply as they've met themselves. Most people haven't done the work. They haven't healed. They haven't gone to therapy. They haven't explored their patterns. They don't have the tools. And Mel says, if they haven't done that for themselves, they are incapable of doing it for you. This isn't an excuse. It's a framework. Let them be who they are. Let them have their limitations. Let them have their humanity. And then let me choose what happens next. Let me choose my boundaries. Let me choose my peace. Acceptance is not surrender. Acceptance is power. Mel says on page 105, this acceptance allows you to see your family with compassion, and more importantly, it allows you to see yourself as an individual who has their own unique frame of reference and path in life. Then you move to the second part, which is let me. Let me figure out what kind of relationship I want to create based on the kind of person I want to be and the values that I have. Remember, acceptance is not surrender. Acceptance is power. Mel closes with, problem. You give too much power to other people's opinions. Truth. People will have negative opinions about you no matter what you do. People will think whatever they think. Let them. Solution. When you let them think what they want, it gives you the freedom to do what you want. When you align your life with your values, you become proud of yourself. And when you're proud of yourself, you no longer care what anyone else thinks. She writes, when you say let them, you make a decision to let people think negative thoughts about you. When you say let me, you focus on the one person whose opinion truly matters, yours. You get one wild and precious life. Go live it in a way that makes you proud. Thank you, radiant friends, for walking through these powerful chapters with me. Let these truths land. Sit with them. Journal with them. Allow them to reshape the space inside you. And remember, as we walk through this season together, radiance isn't about perfection or performance. It's about peace. It's about growth. It's about shining inside out. It's a journey. And by simply showing up, you're already on it. That journey of self-love. Okay, I'll meet you right back here in our next episode of the book study of Mel Robbins' The Let Them Theory. Chapters 7 and 8 are next, and my guided journey of radiance. Remember, peace begins inside and radiates outward always. You are beautifully radiant, free, and gracefully becoming who you are meant to be. So breathe in and out. Let them and let you be radiant. Shine your light.